Hello, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Fox, here on the show this evening. There's our Billy and the Queen of Rangers Radio, Linda. How are we doing, Billy boy?
I'm fine. Oxchair, I'm fine, pal. Good evening, big man. Good evening, Linda.
Evening, Linda.
Evening, Oxchair. Evening, Billy. Evening to all the listeners. I hope you're all keeping well.
Yes. How's things with you, Billy boy?
Aye, mate, I'm just dodging away, buddy. Same old for me, mate. But aye, doing good, pal. Doing good. Family's all well. Can't ask for any better.
That's the most important thing. Linda, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, Ox. Enjoyed the wee bit of a victory at the weekend for us, but it's a bit of a tough watch just now. However, we've just got to get on with it.
Yeah, 4 games left. The season's petered out. Obviously, it wasn't a great watch at the weekend. We got the victory. It would have been so different if the league was tight. You'd accepted that, but the team's flat. The support's flat. We're just looking to move on, Billy.
Aye, it's not. I wouldn't say it's dead rubber games, but it feels like that. You know, we can't drop the standards. We've still got Rangers standards to set. So I mean, we've still got to go out and do the business and try and put on a performance for the Rangers support, or fans or whatever, and collect the points and get as many points and score as many goals as we possibly can for now at the end of the season, Ox. That's all. Just be professional.
Aye, I think as time goes on, Linda, they'll become what Billy says, dead rubbers, dead rubbers,
Yeah. Okay, I think after next weekend, obviously we've got a big game again. I know the last Old Firm game of the season this weekend coming. Then after that, it's just going to be a matter of just counting down the days until the season's over, Ox. And then we can start to look forward to see what's going to happen in the summer. But this weekend's it's an important game.
Always.
Absolutely, Ox.
Always, doesn't matter what it is. It's a big event, and it's an event we should go out and we should try and win, Billy. It's important. It's important any time.
Yep, bang on, buddy. Bang on. I mean, we're playing our greatest rivals. I'm hoping Ibrox will be a cauldron in Oisen Saturday for the full 90 minutes. And I hope the team go out and put in a performance that's worthy the Rangers Football Club. I want us to go out there and be ruthless. They'll rock over here as I would imagine as the champions. They'll have a swagger about them.
Can you watch your language on here, Billy, please?
Aye, true, mate, true. Aye,
that's your first one, and there'll not be another one. Linda, his language is deplorable, isn't it? He's got a lot to learn, isn't he? There's things you can say and things you don't say on here. Tell him, Linda.
I don't know where he gets that language from at times.
Champions.
Aye, good on you, Billy.
Just don't mention them, Billy, then it's easy.
Aye, true, Ox, true. But as I said, Mucker, I think I want the Rangers to turn on a performance here and just basically put them back in their box and looking for the Rangers to play some really, really good football. And when they get the opportunities to be super ruthless. And I mean, I'm no one for, it's all right, it's only 2-0 and we'll just settle for that. If we score 2, I want 3. We score 3, I want 4. That's the kind of performances I want to see against
the problem we've got. I get Billy's point, Linda, but the problem we've got, we don't look as if we're going to score 1, do we? Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and we're just powder puff up front. We've got a totally misfiring front line, as they have been for the majority of the season, whoever's played up there. And it's going to be difficult to even predict what the lineup's going to be at the weekend. We've got a certain Mr. Morelos, who we're going to see him again. We've obviously got, I thought Matondo did reasonably okay at the weekend, set up Sakala again, misfiring in front of goal, Ox. I mean, Michael Beale was quite, scathing in his comments about the forward line as well. I don't know what he said.
Are you talking about the chance in the first half, Linda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that they were the most wasteful team he's ever seen. Quite a scathing comment from the manager, that. But it's true. So I don't know. It's hard to think, exactly what team he's going to be able to put out. But Billy's right. You want them to be ruthless, but I'd take any win, Ox.
Aye. Billy is right, but at the moment, I don't know if we've got that capability, Billy.
Aye, I know. But I mean, it's not as if we weren't creating chances. But as Linda said, and as the gaffer's come out and said, we're creating chances, but we're not taking them. You know what I mean? And that's where the problem starts to lie. You know what I mean? That's just as much a bad habit, Ox, I think, as individually there's at the other side of the park, because if you're not taking your chances when they come, you're putting pressure on the rest of the team. Whereas if you score these chances, you're taking the pressure off the team, and then the confidence goes right through the full team, and that's how you start getting clean sheets. So I mean, we really need to be more ruthless in front of goal, because for talking sake, at the weekend there, I think we had 19 shots on goal or something like that, or thereabouts, and we're only scoring one goal at it. I mean, that percentage-wise, that's no good enough, Oxen. No, in my book anyway.
Have you done the percentages
of the goals? Sorry, of the shots. It's you didn't need to be a mathematician to. You didn't need to be a mathematician to work it out. It's not good enough. 1 out of 19,
Just asking if you've done the percentages. I'm a big fan of numbers, Billy.
Aye, so am I.
Right, okay. Well, put it this way. It's less than 5%, right? So it's not great, is it?
No.
Right, so we move on, and we have to move on. But I've got a few things I want to ask you. I know you want to talk about Alfredo Morelos, Linda, but I'll come to the Alfredo Morelos thing. There's three things bothered me for the weekend, and it's worrying me about my manager. And then I would be interested to hear your comments before we get the phone lines open. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. No, you like players, you don't like players, and sometimes you make a snap judgment. I'm going to leave what I think to the players. I think it's no right to judge. We've not seen enough of someone. Matondo, Ridvan, Raskin. Yeah, we can't mention maybe the shining light. But something happened at the weekend, and I don't know if he's picked up on it. We were defending corner kicks. And we've got a guy that's meant to be rapid who's not got any heart, let's be honest. Who couldn't keep chickens out across the young boy Matondo, right? We put him back in defence at the edge of the box. Why not put him up at the halfway line, Billy? With that pace, and then the other team have to keep two back. Every player back, as if it was the last minute against Leipzig and we were trying to keep the ball in the net. That worries me. Tactically. The second thing that happened was, we've talked about Michael Beale's substitutions. I know it was a dead rubber, but we expect our team to win the game. And when we made the 4 substitutes in the second half on Saturday, we were left with no subs if somebody got hurt, or if even worse, 2 players had run into each other and 2 had to go off. We would have been down to 9 men. Now, I accept you're going to use 4 with 5, keep one as cover. That would be my philosophy in a tight game at all levels, unfortunately. If you're winning 3-0, Billy, or getting beat 3-0, Linda, it doesn't make any difference. That worries me. And the third thing that worries me is the comments about Alfredo Morelos. That's all right. It's a week too late. And why did they play him last week and throw our season under the bus? These 3 things came out alive this weekend for me, and it worries me. Linda.
Yeah,
take them in order.
Take them in order. The defending corner kicks, I think that was definitely something when Gerrard was the manager that we used to always talk about as well. So Michael Beale's obviously was responsible for that back then. If what we're to believe is he had a lot to do with the tactics, I do remember that, and I remember going to watch games and wondering why we didn't have anybody at the halfway line. So I understand that, totally agree with you.
Matondo, Linda, he's not going to win any headers, is he?
No. Nope. As you say, it's not the Europa League semi-final and we've got all backs against the wall in the last minute. That we did concede a corner against Leipzig and with everybody back, as we'll remember. So totally understand that. Do you want me to do 2 and 3 before Billy comes in?
Do 2, and then we'll come
Right.
to the third one for you.
Number 2 subs, nothing left. And the thing about Michael Beale is that he's done the opposite thing that's really frustrated us as well, where he's waited to the 89th minute and brought on 3 substitutions, and we couldn't fathom that out. His whole philosophy around substitutions is a concern.
Right. Am I being too picky, Billy?
No, not at all. Not at all. I've actually picked on a couple of the things as well, Oxford, but I knew you mentioned it.
That's because you've been copying my homework again.
Aye, buddy. No, it's right. You know what I mean? I mean, you can say, oh well, you're playing in as you rightly said, a top game of football, and you need to get a 1-0 victory to get through the tie or whatever the case may be. But come on, we're playing Aberdeen here at home. You know what I mean? I can't understand why we've got guys like Rabbi Matondo back defending the box as well, Ox. You've got to get, in my opinion, I would stick two of them up there, because that's got to occupy 2 of their defenders. That means you're not got to one going opposite.
I get that. What I'm saying, horses for courses. If Matondo was 6'4" and could he be the ball like Richard Gough and he played at a winger, I would understand the rationale of putting him in there, yeah?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. That makes complete sense. But you've got to try and use your players and play to their strengths, surely. So if Matondo's strength is his pace, I mean, why is he defending a corner? It makes no sense to me. Like, you know, he should have been away up out the road and let other boys take care of that. Regarding the substitutions as well, I mean, we've spoken about these subs on numerous occasions. He's not making them at the right time. He's bringing 2 on, he's bringing 3 on and together and whatnot. And then, as you rightly say, I know, if you get injuries, who you got to bring on? It's maybe that reason. I'm maybe splitting hairs here, but maybe that reason, Ox, is that's what he's got to go with at that particular time, and it's maybe like for like type thing, or maybe he's got his own thoughts, say that's how he's wanting to do it. But the substitutions at times they're certainly head scratchers, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Am I being picky, Linda? What you thinking? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, as I said earlier there, that we've criticised him for maybe waiting too long to make substitutions, but I understand where you're coming from in the fact that he used up all of them by the 66th minute. I mean, the clientele he had available to him, I don't think, as Billy said, he's not got a lot of choice, but I think the point we're making is that if you get an injury, you've used all your subs. So I can understand, Ox, that maybe just keep one of them back, perhaps maybe to the 80th minute, but I don't know. I just think I think he'll probably can't wait for the end of this season to come as well, Ox, because when you go on to your third point, I think sometimes he's all over the place, particularly when he comes into these press conferences after and before the games.
Mm-hmm. Right, well, Alfredo Morelos, right. Linda, you've got some thoughts on it. We'll start with you, and then we'll go to Billy, and then I'll come in with my chip, and then we'll get the phone lines open. On you go, Linda. Floor's yours. Billy, pull yourself along. You sit back and relax, mate.
No problem, buddy. A
glass of Prosecco, Billy.
Oh, fancy.
Fancy. No, I think I agree with you about I thought it was a bit strange for Michael Beale to come out and say that about Alfie, even if he did think it. But I think he's been caught up in the emotion of that game, Ox, and he sounded as if he was furious about how the front third of the field was working out for us. So I think we've just got him at a time where he was probably feeling quite angry, and Alfie wasn't playing well. But as you said, it was strange for him to call him out like that. But on Morelos, there's been quite a bit of chat about whether we're going to see him again, and we're just in terms of his whole time at Rangers, what's his legacy going to be? is he going to be deemed a success, or do we think he's going to be deemed a failure? And it's just to get some initial thoughts from you guys.
Ooh. Usually I don't mind going first, but I'll let Billy go first.
Aye, well, it was you could possibly be right, Linda, regarding he's obviously raw after the match type thing, but he's got, as a manager of the Rangers, you've got to be clever in that, especially with the press. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, they'll just eat you up and they'll just take you down a road that you don't want to go. That's what the press do in here. Do you know what I mean? We know what they're all about regarding Rangers Football Club. I mean, we don't need to chit chat on any social media show or whatever the case may be. We all understand how it works. I don't know if it's maybe just doing it a bit naivety with the gaffer or no, but he certainly have to be a lot more clever than that. Because I'd have thought he'd have maybe kept him guessing right to the end of the season, you know, and never said nothing. There's like he did before when he was asked regarding the futures of Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent. You know, so in my book, that's what he should have done. But he's obviously done it. He's done what he's done now, so he'll need to accept it. I just hope in these situations that he's going to learn for these situations, and he's not got to make a rod for his own back regarding the press. But to answer Linda's question as well regarding Alfredo Morelos, now we know what he's not got to be longer ways at Rangers after this season. We can all talk about his attitude, his temperament, and his sending offs and whatnot, and we all understand that. But I'm going to remember Alfredo Morelos for the good player he was, and the achievement he done, especially breaking the European goals record. So that's the Alfredo Morelos that I'm going to remember, Ox, and I believe he's been a success for the period he's been at Glasgow Rangers. So, but that's just my opinion on it.
Alfredo Morelos. We've had quite an abusive relationship with Alfredo. We were in love with him. He was arguably the best thing that ever happened to us for a wee while. He carried us. He gave us some great nights. And then the relationship moved on. And we fell out of love with him. And he's got to be bin-bagged. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
Linda?
Yeah, I think that's probably spot on. And we've always talked about we hope that he could walk out the front door, but I mean, he should be able to do that, but he certainly caused a lot of concern, and that changed a lot of people's opinion on that this season. I mean, if you look at his stats, Ox, he's got 267 games for Rangers, 124 goals and 58 assists. So that's a goal involvement just less than every 1.5 games. I mean, it's a great record.
What's the percentage is that, Billy?
Sorry?
What's the percentage?
Give us it in a fraction. So,
carry on, Linda.
You know, I suppose if you look at it like that, I just think there's for me there's two sides to Alfie in terms of his success. I think on a European level, he's been an absolute success for us, Ox. When you think about all the goals, the way he's played in Europe, the really crucial goals that he scored, Feyenoord away, Legia Warsaw at home, games that have got us progression in Europe and have earned the club a lot of money. But I think domestically, he's not done as well as we would have liked him to. If you even just look at the 2 trophies, 1 league title and 1 Scottish Cup. And I just think sometimes he has let himself down domestically.
Remember that Alfie never played in a Scottish Cup?
No, he didn't. No, but I suppose he'll still count that as maybe a success. But so you would really only talk about 1 league title then, Ox. And he didn't play in the Europa League final either. I know he helped us to get to the final a lot for his contribution in the earlier rounds and then also in the knockout stages. So for me, I think domestically he's not been as much success, but I think in his contribution in the Europa League, he's been very much. I think he's been fantastic for us.
Have you ever had a boyfriend or that, and then it's hot and passionate and things are going well, and then all of a sudden he lets you down and you have to move on? Billy?
On time. Aye, good job, mate. Good job. I'm not taking the bait, but I'm not taking the bait. Listen, see, I think Alfredo Morelos, when you look at it, I think he's just the typical South American. He's just got the typical South American temperament. That's comes part and parcel with them all, or 95% of them. They're all the same. They're all huffy. They all go in a limbo. But with Alfie, I think his huffy attitude just came because he's just a boy that wants to play football, and maybe he just wants to feel loved, as you say, Docs. And he just wants to score goals, and that's all the laddie wants to do. You notice him when he's playing well, his confidence is great, he's banging in goals, but when he's sitting on the touchline and coming on into games...
When did they ever bang in goals, mate?
He's the second top goal scorer in the history of the Europa League.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when did he bang in goals consistently?
Well, I've just told you he's the second top goal scorer in the Europa League. That's a better level than the SPL, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. But he's not he's not a great goal scorer. He's a scorer of great goals, Linda.
Yeah, I think probably season 18-19, he scored 30 goals in 48 appearances. That was Gerrard's first season, Ox.
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably in the league itself, we've always thought that he could have scored more goals. So I think you're right. I think he scored a lot of really important goals, particularly on the European stage, but he's not been as consistent as we would have liked him to be. And he's also had periods in his Rangers career in the different seasons where he's hit really bad goal droughts. He's went a lot of games without scoring, so that's been a bit of a difficulty. But if you think about this season and how he's finishing up his Rangers career, he's been very disappointing. And a lot of it's to do with Alfie's own attitude this season, I think.
Yeah, his goal ratio this season for starts in the league is his best at the club.
Oh, there you go, eh?
Yeah, but you can make stats mean anything, Billy. He's only started 14 games this season, scored 11 goals.
Mental when you think of it, innit? It's absolutely mental. He's been out injured. He was out injured there too, and he was suspended as well, wasn't he? So
well, he's been involved in 31 games this season, which is
right.
Apart from his very first season, just league games we're talking about here. Apart from his very first season with the club when he was involved in 35 league games, he's not been a real regular starter through maybe a lot of reasons, suspensions and injuries. And Giovanni must take some of the blame when he played him back in March. Remember that D game when we lost him for the rest of the season? People could argue that cost us the league, and potentially if he'd have been fit for the final, who knows? Linda,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. I think Gio was over-reliant on Morelos to the point where he just wasn't playing anybody else. And then obviously Alfie had this niggling thigh injury that we heard about. He went away with his country. I think he possibly tried to play or try to take part in their training, and then the next thing we heard was he was sent back and he had sustained the injury and we never saw him again. I agree with you, Ox. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I just think if we've got Alfredo Morelos, we probably win that Europa League. But I think Gio has got to take a bit of responsibility. Gio was over-reliant on quite a lot of players, wasn't he?
Aye. But I mean, he scored less than 80 league goals, Billy, in 6 seasons as our lead striker, if you like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even what you're talking. 6 seasons, 80 goals.
80 goals.
Aye, it's it's not a lot, is it, playing for our team in some of the games we play? No, if you got the minutes and the times he started and was took half after an hour and all that, you could really delve down and look at it. But if you just look at the games he started in the league, he started 139 games and he scored 79 goals. Sorry, aye, and that's league games, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His record in Europe, Billy, is similar in numbers, no far away, similar in numbers. But however, I accept that the quality of the opposition is a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 2018 and 19-20 season, that's when he scored half his goals in Europe. 14. Yeah.
I mean, that night, I think it was Feyenoord when he scored the 2 headers. I think that was one of his best performances in Rangers jersey. I mean, when we look at the Alfredo Morelos we had there, I mean, that's what the player we were all raving about. You know what I mean? He was just exceptional. You know what I mean? They couldn't handle him. And when you had, I think he played against Pepe as well one night. I think Pepe was playing for Benfica. And he was raving about Alfredo Morelos. You know what I mean? And that coming for a football player like that who's done it all in the game. You know what I mean? Real Madrid and that speaks volumes for how much he thought of Alfredo Morelos. But listen, it's a vicious circle with Alfie. I mean, we can talk about the good things, we can talk about the bad things, and what he did and what he didn't do, you know. But as I said a wee bit earlier there, Ox, I'd love to see Alfie had him out with a bang if he was going to.
I mean, I think the relationship died, Linda, the day we played St Mirren. And Giovanni, one of us had Giovanni's last games.
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, he wasn't the only one, but his attitude that particular day was awful, and he had been. Was it the Hearts game? He gets sent off as well, Ox, when John Lundstrom was incorrectly sent off.
Hibs game, and that was a catalyst, wasn't it? And you know, and obviously we dropped 2 points that day, and obviously you don't know, things could have been different if we won. You know, you just don't know. Yeah,
I mean, he had sorted out his discipline, you know, because when you think, I think he actually has only had 4 red cards in his Rangers career.
8, 4 rescinded, yeah.
8, 4 rescinded, there you go. I mean, that was at a point where...
I don't know that. I'm saying he's had 8 red cards in total. I'll check that out, yeah.
Aye. I think you're right. There was a few rescinded, and that was at a point where it was really difficult for Alfie as well, because he was kind of a singled out, and he was refereed to a different standard.
Without a doubt, Linda. Without a doubt. And we loved him. We loved him because we felt he was getting a raw deal, and we loved him because he gave us everything he had. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I think another thing as well, Ox, we've got to try and remember as well when we're talking about him, as you said there, I know that was a good point. The boy was refereed at a different level, and that's a fact. And anybody that can't see that's watching the Rang game. But we've got to remember as well when we're talking to him, when we're talking about him here, you spoke about maybe Gio asked too much of him. We've got to remember as well that the laddie played through the pain barrier for us, you know what I mean? And ultimately, it cost him, you know what I mean? So we can't forget that as well, because there's a lot of players where I turn to and says, oh, well, for talking's sake, there's a certain player out injured now and he fell on a soft surface at Hampden, you know what I mean? And he's not hardly kicked a ball. And then when we look at this other laddie, here's a laddie that's played through the pain barrier, and he's ultimately his thighs popped and he's been out for months. So we've got to remember that as well, Ox, you know?
Aye. But it's only my opinion, Linda, before we get the phone lines open. But the relationship ended at St Mirren this year. Well, last year it was, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
All the good stuff had gone, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. That was the start of the breakdown of the relationship with Alfie. And as this season's gone on as well, the way he came back as well, he was totally out of shape. after, as we all know, he had a serious injury, but he didn't look after himself, and he was totally unfit, and he's never really regained his sharpness or, that aggression and that ability to, really influence games. So it's been a really sort of sad ending to his Rangers career, really.
Ultimately. We'll maybe remember him fondly once the hurt eases, Billy. Yeah.
Aye, that's a good point as well. That's a good point as well. We know it's the same, Ox. It's a shame how it's ended for him. And listen, if he's available in the next 2 or 3 games or whatever the case may be, whether me, you, Linda, or any of the Rangers support out there want him to play or no, we've just got to make sure that we get behind the Rangers first and foremost, get behind him as a player, because he's still playing with that Rangers jersey, remember. You know what I mean? And let's hope he can give us a couple of good performances. And if he's selected on Saturday, let's hope it starts with that one before we go, and we can remember him for the good things that he does instead of the bad.
Okay, let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
The point was, going back to if his attitude was that bad, why did we hang our hat on him last weekend then, Linda? Is that another mistake with Beale?
Possibly. I mean, I know that he didn't have a lot of options. It's not as if he didn't have a lot of options. I mean, I think there was a lot of chat about Tillman playing the kind of a false 9, but he's obviously not had Kamar Roof, we know. Even at Cholak's obviously got this injury as well. We don't know what's happening with him. We haven't even heard the manager's not even mentioned him for a couple of weeks. So he didn't have any option, probably, than to play Morelos, and obviously he went with Kent, who had been injured as well, and he didn't play well at all. So I don't know what. I think that's probably the only reason why he did play him, is because he doesn't have any other options. The thing about this weekend is I think Michael Beale's left himself in a difficult position by his comments after the Aberdeen game. Because if he plays Morelos this weekend, then he's going to make himself look a bit foolish, I think.
Is it his inexperience? 24 games before he got the Rangers job as a manager? Billy?
Could be, Ox, it could be. But when you flip that other side as well, Linda, I mean, he's still a Rangers player at the moment, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, Billy, aye.
That he's still a Rangers player, so I mean, there's no, if he's fit, he's still an option for us. I mean, when you look at the players we've got up top, Alec Lowry come back for a bad injury. Matondo's no really hurt the ground running. We know you get with Fashion Sakala. Todd Cantwell's been playing well. Ryan Kent's out injured. Innes Hadji's just back for his knee. Then we've got Alfredo. Then we've got Scott Wright. It's hardly he's hardly been in the first team, never mind round about the fringes yet. And then you've got Kolach injured, and you've got Kemar Roof injured. So, I mean, a workman can only work with the tools he's got, type thing, you know. But listen, it is what it is.
Is there a learning curve in there for the manager, Billy? But after a game, you've got to be very careful what you say. Absolutely.
As I said earlier on in the show, Oxchair, you've got to be very, very clever with the media up here. I mean, that's one thing. Even though Stephen Gerrard was a rookie when he came to Rangers.
There's a difference. One's a global icon.
Yep, absolutely. I was just going to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. But Gerrard knew how to handle the media, whereas I think Michael Beale's still cutting his teeth, but he needs to be more clever when he's speaking to the media, because, as I said before, and I'll say it again, they'll just eat him up, and you give them one wee chink in your armour and they'll find it.
My frustration wasn't for the media, Linda. My frustration was for the support who watched it last weekend. Yeah, and felt let down last weekend. And then to see it this weekend when he's obviously played them in arguably our biggest game to continue our season last week.
Yeah. And after last weekend, he didn't come out and really criticise anybody, because I think he felt that in the semi-final we were very much in the game. He chose to focus on the fact that we were horrendous at the goal we gave away, and we didn't take our chances. We missed an open goal, Sakala's open goal. He chose to concentrate and focus on that. But this weekend,
when devil's advocate, Linda, Morelos wasn't involved in the goal we lost, and Morelos wasn't involved in the sitter that Sakala missed. But they all played this week.
Yeah, no, it's true. But the thing about it is, Ox, we don't see what's going on a daily basis, on the training park, and Alfie's attitude when he's going along to the Rangers training centre every day. You don't know what's he been like. But Beale was asked about Alfie a couple of weeks ago, and he says he didn't have any problems with him. He was turning up on a daily basis, and he was training well, and his attitude was good. So I don't know. There's quite a lot of times where he seems to be contradicting himself. But I do think on Sunday, Ox, I think he was very annoyed at how that game panned out, and he was annoyed with the people that were playing in the final third. And I think Alfie's ended up getting the rap for it.
Again, playing devil's advocate, Billy, Alfie wasn't on the park for the vast majority of the game.
Aye, come on as a sub. You know what I mean? But maybe the thing is as well, maybe obviously Michael Beale's worked with him before under Steven Gerrard and whatnot, and maybe he knows how good a footballer Alfredo Morelos is, and he maybe knows how frustrating he can be as a footballer as well, and he's maybe put too much trust in him as a player, and maybe he feels let down by Alfredo Morelos, and possibly that's the reason that he's come out and made that statement when the media has asked him. But we'll never know. We can only sit here and discuss it and debate it, and we've not got any crystal ball, and we're no mind readers, so we don't know, But it is what it is, Oxen. Listen, we just need to suck it up and go on, mate. Basically, and that's it in a nutshell.
So go back to my 3 points at the start, Linda. The three of them have given me cause for concerns going forward.
Yeah. The defending corner kicks, I think, as I said earlier, that's been a problem for us. I don't know, we seem to, every manager then you watch, I can't remember if Gio did the same, but Steven Gerrard certainly did. So that's a tactical thing, and obviously I can understand why you're concerned about that. The use of substitutions has definitely been a concern since Beale came in. So I don't know, because it's not filling us with lots of confidence, but that's just natural because of the way everything's turned out. When Beale came in, we had a 9-point deficit in the league. He wanted to try and make sure that wasn't any greater. He's not achieved that. But ultimately, the games that are causing his concern as well is the fact that we've not managed to beat them. But we're going to have to give him a chance to get his own players in, Ox. But I can understand that there are already some concerns for us in terms of moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Apart from the final of the League Cup, the last three games we played them, we had opportunities to beat them, Billy. Beale maybe ultimately isn't responsible for it, but the shocking defending, the last minute goal pretty much at Ibrox when we should have won the game. The last game at their place, the 2 goals we gave away, then the semi-final there. But ultimately, he's the man that will carry the can. Players don't carry the can, unfortunately.
That's right, and Ox. A manager picks the team, and it's a strange one as well. And here, I don't know if you've picked up on this one. If the manager doesn't do his job, he always pays with his job, basically. And if the players are there, that's not doing the job for the manager, they're still going to be there because they're all on long-term contracts type things. But listen, you can't compensate for individual errors, and it doesn't matter what part of the field it is. If it's missing chances in front of goal, or no defending them properly, 1-on-1s, no doing your job properly, team not working as a unit for talking sake, no picking up runners. I mean, the list is endless, but that's not the manager's fault. But you're right as well when you're talking about some of the head scratching things that he's been doing as a manager. But listen, that's what you get when you've got a rookie manager, Ox.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay. Come and join us, 0141 356 1972. Here's your thoughts. We're all frustrated and maybe we just want the season to end to see all these players we're going to bring in, Linda, and maybe we're not thinking with clear head.
I just think it's been probably the most disappointing season we've had. Even when you think about since Gerrard came in, when we thought we were on the way up after that. And don't get me wrong, his first 2 seasons, there was some disappointment. But I think this season, just the way, under Gio, the way that we started to play and we lost games and we just didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And it looked as if a lot of the players just didn't want to play for him. And then ultimately we knew that there was going to be a change of manager, and we probably left it a bit too late, Ox. And then when Michael Beale came in, there was a bit of freshness and he went on a very good run. But ultimately it's come down to these Old Firm games that's determined whether we were going to win anything this season. And you're right, there's not been a lot between the teams at times. Yes, we could have played better in a couple of the games, but he managed to make us a wee bit more competitive compared to the couple of hammerings we got under Gio. But I think you're right. I think we just want to see the back of this season and look forward to the summer and see what sort of players he's going to start to bring in, Ox.
That's where all the focus is going to turn to quite quickly, Billy.
Aye, listen, if it's anything to go by with the 2 laddies he's brought in January, if that's the case, then it can only get better. We know what's required regarding the squad and what we want to see. But I mean, when you look at Todd Cantwell and the boy Raskin, the 2 of them are tidy football players, and they seem to be coming on with every game they play. So if that's anything to go by moving forward as we move into the tail end of the season and through the summertime, when he's got his own ideas and players and who he wants to come in different positions for talking sake, where he's wanting to strengthen and where he thinks we're weak, then if he's got his eyes on players, then Gone Beret too, it can only be good. So it'll definitely be an interesting summer transfer window. And to be honest with you as well, Ox, I don't think that we're going to resolve all these issues through the summer anyway. I think it's going to maybe take 2, possibly 3 transfer windows to get this bang on. And by that I mean get in a good nucleus of players in the summer, then build on that in January, and then kick on again next summer if
Michael Beale's not got 3 transfer windows, Billy.
Well, listen, it's to be real. Is that what we want to do then, mate? Do we want to?
If you judge the mood and the support, and you judge what would be happening if we didn't get a good start, Linda, as much as I want him to succeed, I reckon that the start of the season is really important for him, and it's not fair on him because of the jobs ended up so massive, but that's the reality, Linda.
Yeah, you're probably right, Oxy, and it isn't fair on him, but it's just the fact that being second in this country, it doesn't mean anything. He has to, obviously these players, he wants to get as much business done as quickly as possible. I know that's not always like something that you can do, but they've got to do their best to get that done. We've got the Champions League qualifiers fairly early, and that'll help shape the future as well for this season in terms of what sort of money we're going to be able to bring into the club. You've then got you have to make a good start to the league. You've got the first Old Firm game as well. So the pressure will start to mount if none of those things don't go well. The best thing that could happen as well is if you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, Ox, but if you could win that League Cup, because I just think that if you can win something as a Rangers manager very early doors, I think it lifts a bit of the pressure.
If I was in the boardroom, obviously putting your business hat on, Billy, is the Champions League qualifiers are massive, aren't they?
Of course they are. That's a double-edged sword, this one as well. I mean, we all want us to go and get into the Champions League to see the top teams playing at Europe. But on the flip side of that is when you look back to what happened the last time we were in the Champions League, we were nowhere near ready to play in the Champions League, even though we got there. You know what I mean? And we were playing with our depth, and it was proven to be so. So, I mean, it's a hard one again, because I mean, the fans want us to be there. The board wants us to be there. We all want to be there. But personally, I don't think we're going to be ready for the Champions League again. And I mean, if we couldn't do, all right, Gio goes to the Champions League last season type thing. But if we're going to get to the Champions League this time, then it's going to take more than a rebuild in the summer to get us there. I mean, you've got to throw that team together. Whoever they're got to bring in, it's got to gel together quick, and it's got to hit the ground running. And as Linda said, we'd love to get a trophy early in the season to give us a platform to kick on. But personally, going by what we've already done and seeing a rookie manager, I don't think we'll be ready for the Champions League, and that's just the way I see it, mate.
But the reality is, Linda, that if he doesn't qualify, the criticism will grow and grow and grow, because he'll be compared to we qualified last year. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody knows about how the financial rewards for being in the Champions League. But I agree with Billy, it is a double-edged sword. We weren't anywhere near ready for that sort of challenge last year. It will depend who the calibre of player that he is able to bring in during the summer. That will help determine whether we're going to be in better shape in terms of the quality of player that we've got. They've all still got to gel.
Do you know what the strange thing is? See the team that won the Dutch League this year?
Yeah.
Who knocked them out the Champions League?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be the pressure's on the people at the top of the club and the manager, which it always should be, Billy. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Of course, that's the expectations at Glasgow Rangers. Simple as that. We've built our history up on being successful in winning trophies. It's as simple as that, Ox, and that's never going to change. And it doesn't matter what footballer comes in, be it good, bad, or indifferent. They need to be up to the expectations of Glasgow Rangers, and it's as simple as that. And listen, see it in the summer as well. If we get players in, that what I'm looking for, see the attitude is Todd Cantwell for talking. See, that's a young, hungry laddie, and that's the kind of player with that kind of stature. I'm not saying we're going to bring in 11 Todd Cantwells, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about bringing in players with that mentality and that kind of drive and winning mentality. And obviously the boys don't win nothing yet, we get that, but with that kind of attitude, because he's definitely got a good attitude as well, the boys. So if we can bring players in the summertime along those lines or better, then it can only be beneficial for us moving forward, Docs.
I'm going to be a wee bit controversial here, Linda. I'm going to say that the two boys that were brought in, the jury's out on young Raskin for me, still out.
I can understand that, Ox, because Cantwell stood out a bit because of the impact he's been able to make in terms of, driving the team forward. He scores at 3 goals now. I think he's had a couple of assists, and just his overall play, the way that he wants to get on the ball all the time, and he's quite an exciting player. Raskin's obviously got a different role. I think from my perspective, and I hope I'm right about this, is that he's just not 100% fit just now, Ox. He'd hardly, I know.
They're saying they're only giving him 60 minutes, isn't they, roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not just giving him the full game to try and get him fully up to speed. I don't know.
Must be sports science, Linda, or whatever.
Yeah. And he did have that injury at the last international break, so you don't want to rush him. Todd Cantwell hadn't played a lot of football either before he had joined us, but he's got himself right up to full speed a lot quicker. I can understand what you're saying, Ox, in terms of the jury still out in Raskin, but I think I agree with you that Cantwell, he's the standard that the rest of the players need to look to aspire to, and the people that we bring in, as Billy said, they've got to match him in terms of quality.
Am I being too harsh, Billy? It's only my opinion.
No, that's what it's all about. There'll be guys, Bearettes and Bears out there listening to the show, and they'll have their own opinions on it as well. Some of them will like the two laddies. Some of them will be like yourself, a wee bit dubious. But that's all part and parcel of being a blue nose. You know what I mean? And it's all about opinions, as you rightly said. But listen, only time will tell. Maybe the laddie, he could kick on again, and when he gets a good pre-season under his belt. I mean, and he may be going and be one of the greatest midfielders we've had at Rangers. You never know. And then again, he could go in and maybe be one of the worst. But I've also heard that he's got dreams of playing in the English Premiership, and so he's been open and honest there as well about playing down there. So if he's got any aspirations to get down into the Premiership, he'll need to take all his experience of playing for Glasgow Rangers down there with him, So only time will tell, Ox, as I said, only time will tell, pal.
Aye, it's only my thoughts. It'd be interesting to hear anybody else's thoughts on it, Linda. I'm not criticising the boy. I'm not saying the boy's a bad player. I'm saying as we sit today, what we've seen so far, the jury's out. Let's get him playing games. Let's maybe get him with better players around about him, and then the boy might take off. But I'm just saying the jury's out for me. He's got flaws in his game that maybe that's because the other players around about him. Maybe.
Yeah, you would like to think a better quality of play around about him, and also players that have got a bit of freshness about them, and they actually, they've not been here too long. They're coming in and they want to make their mark. They're, a bit more enthusiasm, but ultimately it is about the quality as well. We were hoping that he maybe enjoyed a wee pop at goal from outside the box. Ox, we thought he might have chip in with a couple of goals. I know he's playing deeper, but we thought that he might do that. He won his a penalty, didn't he? One of the games, and I thought, when you look at, he's had a couple of chances to maybe put better shots on goal, and he's maybe just not connected with the ball properly. So there might be more to come from him in that regard as well, because let's face it, we could do with more goals from other areas of the park, and we need more players to chip in with goals.
And it's a good point you make, Linda. If you score a couple of goals, people look at you differently, Billy, don't they?
Aye, well, that's on the flip side. When you look at the laddie Cantwell, for talking sake, he's managed to get up and running in that side of his football, whereas the laddie Raskin has no scored. Some players take more time to settle at clubs than others. Some players hit the ground running right away, others don't, and it takes them that wee bit longer. And then you've got to think about the expectations of the club and what is expected for the players type thing, and then they've obviously got to strike up an understanding and fit into a system that the manager wants him to play. But he's definitely not a finished article. That's a certainty, Oaks. I think that's where your your doubts are coming from. I don't know, mate. And he can be a wee bit raw as well, mate. But listen, let's hope the laddie comes on, because I really think there's definitely a player in there.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the boys are going to make it, Linda. I said, as we sit today, the jury's out for me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I can understand that, Ox, and I think you're probably not alone in that regard. And let's hope that, he kicks on next season, and he ends up being the player that we think he is. And obviously Beale has seen something in him too. But Todd Cantwell has been a bit of a revelation as well, because I don't think a lot of people thought that Cantwell was the sort of guy that he puts himself about as much as he does. He needs to watch the bookings right enough. I think he's maybe on 5 yellows already. So his cards obviously Mark talks with the referees. But Cantwell's given us everything, and also he gets the club and he's enthusiastic, and let's hope that continues.
I hope so. Aye. That was a cracking goal he scored at the weekend, wasn't it? Let's be honest, but it was a cracker.
Do you know this, Ox? I've watched it back about half a dozen times. That's what you get. I mean, that laddie wasn't rated at 40 million quid for being a pub team player type thing. You know what I mean? It was that's why I think that's the first time I've seen us scoring for a corner like that for a wee while now. A great free kick. A great corner for Tavernier. And what I liked about the goal, Ox, he didn't snatch at it or try and smash it. He got his knee right.
Are you giving Tav an assist for that, Billy?
Aye, I will do. Do
you think Tav meant to chip that? Is that what you're telling me?
Aye, I'll give him an assist. I'll give credit. Always give credit where credit is due, and I'm sure.
Wonder. It's going to just be me and you the second half of the show. Billy's going to have to go to HR and get drug tested.
Well, listen, he's picked him out, and listen.
Do you think that, or do you think it was just an outswinging corner, Linda, that obviously everybody missed, arguably overhit, and Cantwell took advantage of it? What do you think, Linda?
Ox, I'm going to give Billy the benefit of the doubt here, right? I'm sorry,
I'll be talking to myself after the June.
You can send me to HR as well, right? But Todd
You're
Cantwell...
going to fail.
Sorry, right. Todd Cantwell said in the presser afterwards that there had been a similar corner before that, and he was free, and he told John Souttar for the next corner to let the ball go. So there is... Listen, this is a slim thing, right? I understand that. There is a possibility that they got word to Tav to hit it long, but I'm just going to give Billy the benefit.
Tav put it in the same area. John Souttar maybe should get the assist for the dummy then.
No, listen, I can remember a certain David Beckham pinging a corner right across the face of the goal for Real Madrid, and Roberto Carlos smashed it with his left foot on the volley right into the bottom corner. And
give me the two names again, Billy.
David Beckham and Roberto Carlos.
Right, I rest my case. Thank you. Right, okay. Just after the tune, get yourself right down there, and once Fox has finished the test, you can come back on. But you might not be back on after Christmas. You might need to go into rehab.
Well, I get some of my tablets or what?
Well, just take your tablets before you go, because you're going to fail anyway.
I'll get all Davies.
You don't want him. You'll not get in the door. Take his tablets. Right. Listen, it's up for debate. Tav will get this, as bizarre as it seems, Linda. But all he's done is put a corner in an area. John Souttar's arguably ducked to it. Yeah, held them all at bay. And Cantwell, what a finish.
Brilliant finish. And doesn't matter how the ball got to him. That's quality. Absolutely.
Right. It's time to get yourself a mute. We're going to have a tune.
Oh, every other Saturday's my half day off, and it's off to the match I go. Happily we wandered down the Copeland Road, me and my wee pal Joe. We love to see the lasses with the blue scarves on. We love to hear the boys all roar, but I don't have to tell you that the best of all, we love to see the Rangers score. Me, oh, me, oh, my. Oh, we love to see them cry. We love to see the lads with the blue scarves on. We love to hear the boys all roar. But I don't have to tell you that the best of all, we love to see the Rangers score. We've won the Scottish League almost every time the League Cups assemble too. We get some exhibitions in the Scottish Cup. We are the cup winners too. And when the Rangers win the European Cup, as we've done with the one before, we'll gather round the Ibrox 50,000 strong to give the boys an Ibrox roar. Me, oh, me, oh, me, oh, my. Oh, how we love to see them cry. We love to see the lasses with the blue scarves on. We love to hear the boys all roar. But I don't have to tell you that the best of all, we love to see the Rangers score. Me, oh, me, oh, me, oh, my. Oh, how we love to see them cry. We love to see the lasses with the blue scarves on. We love to hear the boys all roar. I don't have to tell you that the best of all, we love to see the Rangers score.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Right, we're back, Linda.
Yes.
All right, gonna be hard, just me and you chatting now.
Poor Billy.
Aye. Well, it'll be good to hear other people's thoughts, but I get what you mean, Billy. I'll give him an assist for it. Huh?
Listen, Todd Cantwell's technique for the goal was just different class, but absolutely brilliant goal. The way, as I said, he didn't snatch at it. He didn't try and smash it. He just watched it coming out and just got his knee right over the top of the ball. And he's actually passed it into the far corner, Ox. I'll tell you, you'll struggle to see a better goal all season.
I'll tell you what else he did that's unusual. He hit the target one.
It's quite a sad reflection of the season when we're actually saying that, Ox, isn't it? It's just the composure and the quality. If you think about the chance that Sakala had in the first half, where Matondo had a great wee flick into him, Sakala is just panic. He panics in front of goal, in my opinion. He's got no composure and he just hits it straight at the goalkeeper. So, you know, that's the difference in quality there as well. And I know sometimes you don't have a lot of time to think about it, but in those are big moments for us, Ox. And if you think about the chances that Fashion Sakala's had, don't know how many goals he scored 8 goals, I think, 7 or 8 goals. He could easily have doubled that this season.
Somebody said to me on Sundays, more goals chopped off than he scored this season.
Offside, that's right. Offside again.
I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, some start in it.
That'd be a cracker if that's true. That's a good one. That'd be interesting to see that one or hear that one. If it's true. Listen, for Fashions, he's enthusiastic. He's got blistering pace, but just he lacks the golden thing for me, and that's composure in front of the goal. I mean, we could say when he's got time to think, he scores a goal like he did up at Dundee United when he's flicked it up with his right foot and caught it in the volley and smashed it into the bottom corner with his other one. But he misses more than he actually scores for me. I mean, and then the two blatant sitters that he missed against Celtic. I believe it was actually harder to miss him because he had two basic open goals to hit the string, and he's put it past the post twice. So that tells me he's not got the composure that's required.
We like fashion. We've gave him a chance. That's a couple of seasons he's been based now, Linda. Squad player at best, and then looking to improve. Is that fair?
Yeah, squad player at best. You could still argue that he's got a part to play, but I think he's actually an asset as well. He's a sellable player, Ox. I mean, I don't know, what sort of fee we would be talking about, but I still think that there's a possibility that clubs might sign him. He's done well at his previous clubs. He is an internationalist. It's possibly he's somebody that we could look to try and move on to generate some cash for perhaps other players.
I'm glad you mentioned international. Is the Zambian thing where he's been, has that maybe affected his confidence? Is that the root cause of some of this?
It's possible, Ox, yeah, because I think he took that particularly bad, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So much so that he did take to social media, and I think he was advised that wasn't probably the right thing to do, but it's very, very difficult for him. He obviously loves playing for his country, and they're expecting him to be on a totally different level than he probably is as well. But that's a good shout, Ox. It possibly has affected him.
What would you take for him, Billy?
I would say maybe around £3 million or something.
Last Sunday they took a lucky bag and a bag of crisps, if I'm being honest, no?
I'm just going with the crazy transfer market that is new in football,
Yeah, I suppose his age, he's not an old man. Your length of his contract, you'd be buying that out. I think that would be a done deal, if I'm being honest, Linda. Yeah,
I think so. There's a real possibility that I know it's not always easy to move players on, but I think he's definitely sellable, and his agent could put feelers out, etc. Michael Beale says he's going to be having conversations with everybody. The other person that falls into that category perhaps is Cholak. I think he's sellable as well, Ox. We've not seen very much of him recently, and is he somebody that is going to fit into Michael Beale's style of play? He's somebody else that could be sellable as well. Because a lot of people think that we don't have any sellable assets now because we're letting, obviously Kent and Morelos are going at the end of their contract, but when you look within the squad, there are certain players that you could sell to generate cash, maybe just players that he doesn't fancy, or they're just maybe not quite good enough.
Yeah, I wonder what people think of that. Billy's, would that be fair? Would you take that? Would you move on? Would you take off of that and move on? Wages. It's if it's a clean cut, Linda, and then Billy, just to get the wages, because they'll be on decent money, fashion it.
Yeah, probably, Ox, and somebody like Cholak will be on decent money as well. I think with Fashion Sakala, if he does stay, I think there probably is, as I said, a role for him to play. But I just think that his lack of quality has been quite frustrating, and he has missed big chances. And it could be that, as I said earlier, that we just want a lot of freshness in the squad, and we want people to come in up front that are going to be starters, and they are going to be able to hit the ground running. And I know that doesn't always happen, but I would say that he is definitely somebody that we could get a fee in for.
Aye, Billy?
Aye, that's a possibility. It's maybe a good shout. I think his Fashion's only 26 or something like that, and Cholak is 29. But I think the two of them are completely different strikers. I mean, Cholak's merely a penalty box striker. We all know that. You've got to create chances for him to put the ball in the back of the net, and he's only 29. You could say, well, the way I look at that one as well, Maybe sound a wee bit hypocritical here, but when you look at Cholak, I mean, strikers didn't normally start peaking till they're about 29, 30, possibly 31-year-old. So I think maybe the best years of Cholak is in a Rangers jersey, and he's just been unlucky with his injuries, because when he first came along here, he hit the ground running and he was starting to score goals, and obviously then he was out injured. But regarding wee Fashion's the exact opposite. Cholak, he's not got the pace of what Fashion's got, because obviously, as I said, they're two different footballers, and obviously Fashion's not got the composure in front of goal that big Cholak has. But you've got to, when we're talking about these players as well, Ox and Linda, I think we've got to be realistic as well. Then you don't want to be, I wouldn't say top heavy, but you're not wanting to have too many similar players for that position. So when you've got players that are different in the areas of the park, then it gives you different options as well. I don't know what you think of that.
I'm just thinking he's ripped up, mate. That's the problem I've got. And there'll be some people who'll come out here and they'll fit in and they'll be okay because they get kept, and it might not be who we think it's going to be. It could be somebody like, I don't know, Sakala. We might know he might stay, and then with other people it becomes a success. You don't see it coming. You get a bit of luck. But I think it needs ripped up, and I can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger on it where it's went wrong, because, you know, obviously this season there's been a couple of highs when, you know, when the PSV games and we qualify and we're back in the Champions League, and you say, right, okay, that's it. We see where it takes us. And from that day onwards, it's just been, we're not that high, and then we've just slowly declined with the same group of players. So either there's something not right, and there's a lot wrong under it.
Yeah. In the Champions League itself, Fox, getting there, it was, you know, we were absolutely delighted. It was a fantastic achievement. You know, we had to come through 2 qualifiers. Other teams walked straight into the Champions League. You know, we had to come through those qualifiers, and let's face it.
Just remember, is there another Scottish team won as many games as we did in Europe this year?
No.
And our campaign wasn't great, was it? I mean, we're honest about that, but just...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about our record in Europe, and it's not that's not what fans want to hear, Ox. We want trophies. This is the thing. You know, the European thing is great. It's financial rewards for the club, but as fans, we just want to win things. But getting back to your point about putting your finger on when it went wrong, I mean, as I said, the Champions League, we were delighted we got there. It was some achievement, but the actual participation in that, I think, knocked the stuffing out of some of these players, if not most of them. But I think you made a point last week about the fact that have they just ran out of steam? Because the same group of players were relied upon again because of the injury situation involving some of the new players that Gio bought. So he was relying on players that had gone through that whole Europa League run. And I know they're athletes, Ox, and they should have the same levels of fitness. But the other thing is that we heard as well that they didn't have the same level of pre-season as they had the season before as well. So their fitness was a lot in doubt. I think it's been a combination of things, Ox, but you can't take it away from them as well, the fact that all these injuries that we had.
Well, it's been a factor. It's definitely been a factor, but all teams get injuries, Billy.
Aye, it's part and parcel of football, isn't it? Injuries. It's a physical sport. But I don't know. I'd love to know that for a start. I mean, for how many players we've got on our books in our first team squad, because I'm sure every single one of our squad has been out injured at some point in the season. I can't recall any player that's no. I don't know if you can, mate, but Linda, if you can think on, but it's the injury levels.
One player.
One player. Who's that? Cantwell, maybe?
Cantwell, mate. That's the only one I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Aye. Yeah. I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't know what that is doing to Ox. If it's doing to...
But you'll find in a season, Billy, if you had a squad, you might find, let's say you had a regular 18, that some of them would get injured, but it'd only be a knock for a week or so, Linda, yeah?
Yeah.
And you don't even notice it because, he's not playing this week, but he's back in next week, so you don't need to notice. So the time the season's finished, 38 league games, the guy's played 37. But he's had an injury, it's lasted a couple of weeks, maybe missed one league game and, say, a cup tie, yeah? But this season, I think that it's heading towards 400 games that when new players could have started, Linda, and it's just for last summer, and it's just over 70, it's heading towards 80, a fifth of the games, 20%, Billy.
Yeah,
roughly.
I think it's the length of the injury situations that we've had and the number of games.
Add into that, Linda, the finance involved with it that stops you from progressing because you're paying people because they're no there for you.
Yeah. Okay, when you think about all the money that's sitting in the stand, or they're not contributing at all, Ox. Very frustrating. It's the length of the time that people have been out. I think it's the most important thing. You know, as you rightly said, players can miss the odd game or two, but nearly every player that we've been talking about, when they've been out, they've missed more than maybe 5 or 6 games. And you can't, that can't continue for the majority of the season like it has for us. You're always going to get the odd game here or there, like you've said, but it just seems to be that every time one of our players get an injury, we've not seen them for weeks, and then we've obviously got the ones that we just haven't seen again for the full season. I don't know. I can't ever remember a season like it for Rangers in terms of injuries.
Not enough, if being honest, Billy.
Can I? No, for the life of me, I can't. I mean, we all know that when you get a good, strong pre-season under your belt, it's a big thing in football. It builds up all your stamina and your sharpness for the start of the season, and then when you progress through the league campaign and the domestic cups, for talking sake, you gather up your match fitness and whatnot. But listen, there's some definitely no right. It's either that or somebody's not been doing their job properly, Ox, because there's certainly something no right here to hear that amount of injuries in one season. As you said there as well, you can compensate for strains and rolling ankles and tweaking your hamstring and that's part and parcel, and maybe different injuries like that. But for these injuries to be longer than what they normally are, and for the players to be a lot longer than what they normally are as well, it's certainly a very strange one. And I'm sure that whoever is running the medical department at Ibrox now, they should be looking into that, because we can't go through another season like that.
The muscle ones give me an issue, Linda. Somebody gets a knock, somebody gets a kick in the knee, somebody gets, a gash in the nose, and they can't play for whatever reasons. But when you start getting muscle ones, it tends to lead before that. Yeah, I know that you can stretch and you can do something silly. Like Tillman's one was maybe looked like a freak one. Ridvan's one looked like a freak one. But the two have ended up with hamstrings. So is there something wrong with the preparation, something wrong with stretching, something wrong with warm-up? I don't know. Am I like, or is it just bad luck? Because there's 2 young boys who don't even add up to, I don't think, 45 years of age. Yeah? And the 2 of them have done their hamstring in.
It's the sort of thing that they should be. I think they will be looking at. You'd be very surprised if they weren't. they're going to be looking at the whole thing. You know, the whole club is obviously going through a bit of a transformation as well in terms of people leaving and particular posts being filled again, Ox, and people changing roles, etc. But you know, you would like to think that they'll look at everything, and including the medical department, to trying to get to the bottom of what, you know, how these injuries have occurred. But things like that you've said would be included in that. What's their warm up like? What's their warm down? They talk about the recovery after games. So I think all of that would need to be looked at, Ox, with a view to hopefully improving that going forward. It can't all be down to just bad luck.
Yeah, what worries me with the two of them are young boys. If I'm being honest, Billy, hamstrings, two of them, you know, 20s, early 20s, no, two of them.
I mean, there's a lot of different programmes that football players can do, different stretches. I mean, it's not like the good old days when you just went out there and had a wee runabout and then that was you ready to rock and roll, you know. There's a lot of different programmes that football players are going through constantly before every game. They'll have things to do during training before they go and they start building up towards getting fitter and fitter and fitter, for talking's sake. But it's maybe down to lack of muscle power as well. It could possibly be that. Maybe they're not just as strong as what they should be in the areas, or maybe it's the style of player they are. They're constantly sprinting all the time. But even if they're doing that, you would still think that they're warming up properly before the game. I mean, we all know as well, Ox, that it doesn't matter. It could be the first minute or the last minute of a game, and you could pop a hamstring. So, but it's maybe something to do with that, I know. But it's a real head scratcher. So it is, Ox, definitely.
I get it. People, the hamstring ones have always been random. But if you think of the two of them have been obviously in different areas of the park. They went for tackles, blocks. They're 20 years of age, and their hamstrings have went. It worries me, Linda. That's as soon as you start getting things that are similar, you say, right, what's wrong here? If you've got all random things, you can put it down to completely bad luck. But there's two boys. Is their conditioning right? Is their stretching right? Is their programs right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the ages of them as well is a concern, as you say, Ox. Just young guys. I mean, somebody like Ridvan had hardly played any football up until that happened. We were looking forward to seeing him. Could, as you say, was it a bit of a freak incident? We don't know. But certainly, as you say, similar injuries, similar ages, and that would cause you a concern. As I said, it's something that the club must be looking at, Ox, no doubt about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that will need to be looked at. Anyway, we've been joined by Smurf. Evening, Smurf.
Hi, Ox. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing, mate? What's on your mind, mate?
I just listening to what you were saying there. I've sort of often been wondering, sort of privately, if that had correlated to... Can you remember when Stevie G came in, he brought his own medical team, and he brought that doctor in, he was quite sort of revered, quite renowned. And then after Stevie G left, he left a few months later. And I just think on the back of that, we've struggled. That guy leaving the building. I think it was a bit of an exodus of the backroom team, you know.
But the doctor should be the guy that's only involved after that. They should, if you take the hamstrings, Billy, with the stretching and all that, that's not done with the doctor. That's all done with your fitness coach and your sports science department, yeah? You shouldn't have to see the doctor till you've got an issue, hopefully, yeah?
Aye, but I hear what you're saying there as well, and also hear what Smurf is saying as well. I mean, you can look at it for when Stephen Gerrard brought that guy in, then for talking's sake, there was a plan in position for how the players were going to go about their daily business. And maybe now because they've not got somebody of that expertise in the building type thing, that's how these problems are happening.
A doctor's not going to give you your fitness or your programme for your muscles. That's not his job, is it?
Oh, no, I get that. That's what I'm saying, Ox. I get that as well. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, obviously there's numerous things that will contribute to these injuries. I'm just making an example and trying to answer Smurf's question of that could be one of the reasons of it. But you're also correct in what you're saying as well, Ox, that it's down to the players and how they look after their body and how they train and how they warm up and how they warm down. You know,
that's all designed. That's all designed. The fitness coaches, the sports science department, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If the doctor overseen all that, Smurf, he could have been.
Well, that doctor in particular was, although he was a medical doctor, he was actually he headed up the entirety of that department because his specialist was sports medicine, and so all the sports scientists and everything, they did all work under him. So they did. He was a specialist in sports science, and I don't think we've replaced him with like for like. We've probably got a GP in there now, and I think we're probably. I don't think we've got. It's going to be preparation. It's going to be how guys are looking after it. For a start, the players weren't as fit as they were under Steven Gerrard. I think everybody could see that. And if you're no fit, but you're expected to put the same level of exertion into a game, because the fans will demand that, and these players have been there a long time, but you're not as fit as you were, you're obviously going to get injured. I think there's a lot. I think, if you're going to be doing well at anything in life, it's all about small margins and doing lots of really simple things really, really well. And I think standards have dropped since Steven Gerrard's left. And I'm not talking about just him as a matter, just the sheer professionalism, the attention to detail, all the stuff that he would have taken for granted as an elite athlete. He would have demanded that at the club.
I don't think you're alone in that thinking, Linda. Can you come?
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Smurf, because but when Gio came in, as I said earlier, the rumours were that the players weren't given as tough a pre-season as they'd had previously under Steven Gerrard, and maybe that was borne out with the fact that they didn't look that fit, didn't they not? But they put a lot of effort into trying to qualify for the Champions League and managed to do that. But it's probably a combination of a whole load of things, Smurf, and it's definitely something that they're going to have to get better. But it's quite disappointing, isn't it, that certain things around the club, the standards have been allowed to drop. After getting ourselves into such a great position after winning the league, we just don't seem to have pushed on. But maybe it's just been a case of we've rested on our laurels a wee bit in a lot of different areas, eh?
Aye, well, we're getting the wages of that now. I think it's a wake-up call for next season. I'm going to go, guys, but just another point that you were saying earlier about, obviously you said you weren't fully convinced with Raskin, and I know you weren't saying that you're a good player or that, but I agree with you. I think the jury's still out on that boy, and it's going to be an interesting season ahead. Hopefully next year that we're sitting here in a much better position. But I've got to love and leave these guys. I'll catch you later. Cheers,
Smurf.
Cheers, Smurf.
I think the thing about Raskin, I'm not saying I said let's get the boy fit. He's obviously not firing on all cylinders. We need to be fair to him as well, Linda.
Yeah, absolutely, Ox. As I said earlier, I don't think he had played a lot of football. His previous club, I think he had a bit of a fallout with the manager. He hadn't featured that much, I don't think. So when we signed him, he was obviously trying to get up to speed and build a bit of match fitness. He then had that injury just at the last international break, so we've got to be fair on him. We've seen bits and pieces from him that gives us a bit of hope for the future, and he's going to be able to make an impact. He'll have a wee bit of experience, obviously, of Scottish football, what that's like. And it was good getting him and Cantwell in January so that they can get that experience, and surely they'll be ready to hit the ground running when the new season kicks off.
Yeah. But to be fair on him and all, he's a 20-year-old boy. We just need to let him find his feet, get fit, and come back refreshed, Billy, and hopefully kicks on.
Aye, of course. Listen, he's still, as Linda said, he's still getting up to speed and learning the Scottish game, first and foremost. And then, obviously, he needs to understand all about what the Rangers are all about. But listen, if it was up to me, I would say the players up and doing the Gullen Sands like Big Jock Wallace did. That wouldn't be long getting them fit, because I'll tell you one thing, the way things are going now, you're talking about a doctor there. I think it's a witch doctor we've got, and the witch doctor's got all Rangers dolls, and we've got pins in the back of them the way our injuries have went, so. But I also, listen, it is what it is, mate. As I said, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Aye, we have to regroup and see where it takes us, and hopefully the boy Raskin kicks on, Linda, and we go from strength to strength, But we'll see where it takes us. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a roller coaster the next few weeks as a Rangers supporter. As the press is going to be full of stories. Some will end up true, some will end up false. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but linked with everybody, Ox. I mean, it's already started. The boy from Norwich, we seem to be linked with obviously the goalkeeper, Butland. So it's all started, and every day you're reading different stories. But obviously,
the only striker we've not been linked to is Mick Lynch, I think.
And see, once we get the next few games out the way and we can park this season, have a wee bit of a break, and then you start to see the new signings coming through the door, hopefully, Ox, as I said earlier, as soon as possible, if that can be done, you start to see a new squad sort of taking shape, and then before we know it, we'll be trying to qualify for the Champions League. And we've also got some players hopefully coming back as well. I know Tom Lawrence is looking at the back end of pre-season. I think that's what they said.
Couldn't we go up, could you? You couldn't go.
No, he's not even going to be fit for the beginning. You just don't know. That'll be like, I know it's an old cliche, but he'll be like a new signing. I mean, it's quite incredible that he played all those games last season, and then he's only played a handful of games for us. So we'll start to see, a squad taking shape. But I do agree with you that, Michael Beale is going to be under pressure, Ox, to get off to a good start, and he'll know that himself.
Oh, he's a lot of things, Michael Beale, but he's not a fool. Let's be honest, one of the successes on Sunday there was the young boy McCrory, who kept a clean sheet and had an excellent save in the first half, Billy.
Aye, listen, that's what we're looking for. I mean, we've spoke about Alan McGregor coming to the end of his Rangers career, and John McLaughlin not being good enough. So these guys have got to be trusted and given a chance to see what kind of standard they're at and how they're going to perform. And I mean, back to we can talk about you've not seen enough of this one and I've not seen enough of that one. I mean, it's a different area of the field being a goalkeeper, and what we've actually seen with the laddie McCrory, he's not done nothing wrong in the games he's played. So You never know. He maybe be pushing whoever's come in. He's got to come in the summer if there's a deal already been done. For your talking sake, Jack Butland. So he's maybe saying to himself, well, hold on the new gaffer. I'm going to show you what I'm all about for now at the end of the season if you're going to give me a chance. And I'm going to give you a headache for talking sake for the new goalkeeper to come in. And that can only be healthy competition as well, because if you've got two good goalkeepers going ding-dong for the number one jersey.
3 games the boys played. One European tie away, kept a clean sheet. Home to them, kept a clean sheet. And home to Aberdeen, kept a clean sheet, Linda.
Yeah, we just want to see more of him. You know, it's a real shame that he was injured. There's another injury that we've not spoken about, because Michael Beale's been talking about Robbie McCrory since he came in, giving him a chance, and we did wonder if he actually meant that. But it would be interesting to see him play if the remainder of the games this season, Ox, if that's going to happen. And I know the pressure's off slightly because they're just dead rubbers, as you said earlier, apart from maybe next weekend. But we need to see more of him. It's the same with John McLaughlin. We all thought he was a reasonably good goalie. He hadn't really let us down previously, but he'd only played a handful of games in the cup. And then when we seen him in the bigger games, he just didn't seem to have it, Ox. So with Robbie McCrory, I think there's potential there. He seems to have done okay, but we haven't seen enough of him. So what's the harm in giving him the next 5 games, 4 or 5 games, to see exactly how he can perform?
Right, last used to, and people want to join us at the death. Would you start him on Saturday, Billy?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
I never thought I'd do this, but I agree with Billy. Yes. I don't see why not. I don't see why, Billy, do you?
No, of course. Give the boy a chance. Give the boy a chance. He's played in that fixture before, and he passed with flying colours when Steven Gerrard was the manager. So, I mean, as I said before, it's a completely different position, but the lad, he's done it in this fixture. I'm not saying he could go out and hear a howler. We don't know. But listen, we'll never know if they don't play him, and he's certainly not going to be any good to us sitting in the stand when we've got a goalkeeper there that's coming to the end of his career. And we've got another goalkeeper that obviously the manager maybe doesn't fancy. So give the boy a chance. I think he's earned it. He's been at the club long enough. Obviously come up through the youth setup, so he knows what Rangers is all about. He's a blue nose himself, so give the boy a start and see how he gets on. Play him.
Linda?
Yeah, I agree with Billy. I don't really think. I know it is an important game. It's an Old Firm game. You want to win them, but at the end of the day, he never let us down in the Old Firm game that he played in the last time. That was during COVID, wasn't it? Or just the following season when our whole squad was kind of decimated by it. He didn't let us down. It was a big game, and it actually did mean a lot back then because it was the beginning of a league campaign, and we walked off with a 1-0 victory. And he made a few good saves in that game as well, Ox, if we remember rightly. It doesn't seem to be fazed by that either. It's at home. It's going to just be our fans that are there as well. It's an ideal environment for him to play. So I would like to see him get a start. There's enough room to maybe give Alan some time later on, maybe the Hearts game at home, so he can get to see a proper farewell, because Alan McGregor definitely deserves that. But this Saturday, let's play young Robbie and see how he gets on.
My gut feeling tells me we'll start Alan McGregor on Saturday, Billy. Yeah, but I would go with the boy. Yeah, because you've got to look at the big picture as a manager.
That's right. Of course, you've got to look at the big picture. I mean, you maybe say, as Linda said there as well, the gaffers maybe hinting, or sorry, no, the gaffers maybe hinting that if we give Robbie McCrory a start, then you could bring McGregor in, as Linda rightly said, against Hearts to say his farewell. But Alan McGregor's got his testimonial to do that anyway, hasn't he? So play the boy, give him a chance. You know what I mean? I'm all for we'll never know if we're not going to give these boys a chance. Some of them will be good enough, some of them will not be good enough, and obviously that's a fact, you know. But give the boy a chance and let's see how he performs. He certainly knows what he's doing anyway, so I can't see any reason why he should let us do it at the weekend. And as Linda rightly said there again, I mean, it's all the teddy bears that's got to be there anyway. So he's going to have everybody in the ground will have his back, you know. So by all means, give him a start. So if you're listening, Gaffer, play Robbie McCrory.
I don't think you're all right. I don't think Michael listens to his driving in tomorrow, Billy, if I'm being honest.
True, mate, true. He'll have his headache tablets to take, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. He's looks as if he's filled out a bit since we last seen him, which is nearly 2 years ago, Linda, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You know, and what I noticed on Sunday was just getting off his line, just that, obviously no offence to Alan, the sands of time late for no man, but he was just coming out for the balls and scooping them up, that it's became a struggle for Alan because he doesn't move the way he used to.
Yeah, he looked confident as well coming off his line. Juicy coming out to collect the ball. He also had an Alan McGregor type save as well, didn't he, when they broke up the park? And I think it was the boy Duke on the left hand side, and he saved it with his right foot, Ox, very much like Alan McGregor. So he's proven that he can. He's a good shot stopper as well. But we would like him to be a bit more commanding. And as you said, it's just time that's caught up with Alan. Absolutely. I mean, he's still a great goalkeeper. But I think we all agree, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But Alan should probably just have gone last year. But we've already talked about that. And it's now looking to the future. I still think, obviously, we will bring in another goalkeeper. And as Billy said, that Robbie McCrory, if he can do enough to prove that he can be number 2, we might see John McLaughlin moving on as well. I think he's got another year left, hasn't he? So there's a possibility that you might bring in a transfer fee for him too. So there's going to be changes probably in the goalkeeping position as well.
Well, maybe there's a problem there that if Robbie McCrory turns into being a man, it could be a problem solved in-house, Billy.
That's right enough. Yeah, I've thought about that as well. Ox, if the laddie comes in and performs and plays well and kicks on and obviously keeps clean sheets, the board will maybe need to, or whoever's dealing with the transfer scenario, be it the manager or whoever it is, maybe, they maybe look at that and say, well, listen, we maybe need to look to bring somebody in that's going to be a backup to the laddie McCrory, for talking's sake. If that's the case, if the laddie plays well for now to the end of the season. But it's all swings and roundabout socks at the moment with the Rangers type thing. And to be honest with you as well, the laddie McCrory, I think, what is he, 25 years of age? So if he's going to go and make it now at the Rangers, you would think that this will be his time to go and stamp his authority, to try and make himself the Rangers number 1 at 25-year-old. Either that, or he'll maybe need to move on himself to get football elsewhere with some other club. You know, so we can look at it for that perspective as well. But what I like about him as well, what I've seen him, he's quite comfortable with the ball at his feet as well. you know, a lot of keepers want to come out and rush things, and you know what I mean, they want to scuff it away out the park for throwing and whatnot. He looks pretty confident with the ball at his feet as well. So, I mean, that's a good thing as well. Confidence as a goalkeeper and all, and he looks as if he's a decent shot stopper as well, and he's wanting to come and command his area. So he's certainly got the credentials to tick all the boxes, Ox.
Aye, it could work out. We get it right. It could be an asset Linda, you know, and obviously we'll see what it takes us. We wish him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, he's a young guy, and when you look at some of the young players that we've got, I don't know how you thought young Yilmaz did at the weekend, Ox, but he's another player that we haven't seen enough of. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, because you know, there's obviously been rumours that he's not settled, but I think that's all they are. And as you rightly said earlier, he had a terrible injury. He put out a nice wee tweet saying that he enjoyed his game and it was great playing before the fans. So, you know, there's some young players there, enthusiastic. So, you know, there's a good base to build on, but as you rightly said, there's a lot of it needing ripped up, and we desperately need some fresh faces, but we need quality.
I think Ridvan was outstanding. He was okay. He brought the ball forward. He didn't have a lot of hit, but I don't know if Messi would have had a lot of hit up front for us at the weekend there, Billy, if I'm being honest, no?
Hi, listen, the games that I've seen with the boy, I think you've touched on it as well. He's got a lovely touch, and he's got a good energy about him, and he likes to drive forward with the ball, and his delivery's quite good as well. You know what I mean? And he's no fear to hear a shot at goal, Ox. But I think sometimes the boys, he gets a wee bit frustrated because of what you just spoke about there. He's getting himself into good areas of the field, and he's got his head. Have you noticed he's always got his head up all the time, looking for a pass? And I think he's getting a wee bit frustrated when he's been playing, because when he's getting himself into good areas of the park, that when he's wanting to swing a cross in or move the ball quick, there's nothing in front of him for him to hit, and he's got to come back the way. And what happens there again is Evernote starts to break down again, and it allows your opponents to get back into their shape. Whereas if you attack them quickly and don't give them that time to get into a shape and get the ball into the box quickly, you're giving your opponent basically no chance to go and win the balls when the boys are firing it coming in quickly. But listen, he looks for one for the future, and let's hope it is. It's just rumours, Ox, you know, and the boys want to stay with us, and we'll see what he's got. To be honest with you as well, Ox, just to conclude that, I think he's just shy a wee bit and all, and by that I mean upper body strength. I think he's maybe need to put on maybe a half a stone in muscle just to bulk up a wee bit.
That was one of the positives of Saturday's performance, Linda, that he came across and he won a real hard tackle, yeah. I think it was the first half from memory. He came and he made sure he won it. You know, it showed the desire was there, and you know, he wasn't holding back after the injury. Well, let's be honest, he's a boy who looks as if he's coming back from injury. No played a lot of football. That's the thing. That's the first we've seen him since the Motherwell game. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, well, he's in, but definitely the jury's still out. But the problem he's got is we did spend a lot of money on him, and people are expecting a lot from him.
Yeah, that's the difficulty for him. It's the same with any player that comes in with a big price tag. I mean, he's definitely rated as well, and you know, I hope he stays, but he's another one that you would like to think that if, say, hypothetically it didn't work out, that we would definitely recoup what we paid anyway. But I think he'll stay. You're right, he did put a couple of challenges in and it was good to see. And I mean, he should have had an assist. Am I right in saying he was the one that put the ball in that came off that Johnny Hayes and rattled the bar? And I think he's entitled to think that one of our players is getting on the end of that. And there was another one he put in to a dangerous area. And I know it's all about picking players out, Ox, but that's not always possible. But surely to goodness we should have a player on that 6-yard box getting these kind of easy chances that are being created. I hope he stays, Ox, and I hope we get to see a lot more of him. And what happens with Bourne will be interesting going forward as well.
Aye, competition for Lander's a good thing. It can't be a bad thing, but let's see how he gets on with a full pre-season under his belt. And Billy rightly says if he's got to work on his upper body comes back July time, which is only a few weeks away, really, and he's improved his physique, and he's obviously that strength helps him with injury as well, Wonder, eh?
Yeah, and I know Bourne has had a reasonably good season, in comparative terms, but it would be good to see young Yilmaz for, some games going forward as well, Ox, so that he's got a wee bit of more experience with the Scottish game, gets a wee bit of that behind him, and then he looks forward to next season. And as you say, competition for places, it's definitely it's a positive thing for us.
Aye, let's see how the boy gets on, how it develops, and if he wants to go and we get our money back, or we recoup, you move on, Billy. But if he's got the desire and he wants to stay with us and he gets himself fit, let's see where it goes with the boy, yeah?
That's right. That's exactly right. It all depends how hungry the boy is to come here and prove himself as a footballer. As you want to go and stamp that position as his position, as you want to be hungry enough to go and make sure that jersey's got to be his week in, week out, and is he going to be showing that in training? Is he going to show the gaffer in training? Is he got to show the gaffer in the gymnasium to get stronger? Is he going to train properly? You know what I mean? Is he going to take in what the gaffers try to tell him and try to teach him and try to coach him? So all these things are all going to be asked the question of him, because we did shell out a couple of pounds for the boy, But when you flip it the opposite way, then if he's the lad is maybe no settled here, then surely it would make business sense to just recuperate some of the money that we shipped out to get him, and then try and bring somebody else in of a better standard what we've got, and to help it balance the team better, for talking sake, or to make better competition in that area of the park.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to think if we did any movement there, Wonder would recoup our wages and our money.
Yeah, definitely, Ox. Absolutely. You've got to make sure that happens. You wouldn't be want to take any loss at all.
No.
Definitely not.
But we'll see. Anyway, we've reached that time of the evening. We know we'll get competition, big games of football in the box, and we recognise it. We just want to see where this season is parked, Billy, and we move on and get players in. But over to you, mate, for your last word.
Aye, once again, Ox, thanks very much for having me on the show tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Love talking about the Rangers. Good to be on with Linda. And I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday now. And I'm hoping for a strong Rangers performance, a brilliant football performance, plenty of goals, and to turn them over. Thanks very much, pal.
Wonder.
Yeah, I echo what Billy said. It was Good show, good chat tonight. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed being on with Billy and obviously your good self, Fox. And let's hope we can get a victory on Saturday. That would be wonderful. Rangers just go out. Any win will do for me, Ox.
Yeah. Can I just thank Smurfs who joined us, Billy and Linda for doing the show, Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. Thanks to everybody for listening. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night between 8 and 10 talking about all things Rangers. Remember, we're still the people. Take it away, Old School Boy.
We are the Rangers FC. We are the people, you better believe. We are together, we're doing the bouncy all over the world. We had our troubles, but now they are gone. They tried to kill us, but the Bears we stood strong. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. Lucia Vibrox for Lancer 3. Follow, and God save the Queen. You'll hear us singing, doing the bouncy all over the world. In Barcelona in 72, we beat the Russians by 3-2. Still celebrating, doing the bouncy all over the world. Glasgow Rangers, we're back where we belong. Blue sea of Ibrox, and we're still going strong. We wear our colours, the red, white and blue. We wear them proudly like blue noses do. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. The pride of Scotland, but that's nothing new. The pride of Glasgow, and Glasgow is blue. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. To be a blue nose, it fills us with pride. We are united, we'll never divide. We are together, doing the bouncy all over the world. Doing the bouncy all over the world. Doing the bouncy all over the world.